our guy from the Jet Foundation. What's up, Severe? How we doing?
Good, fellas. How are you guys doing?
What is up? How's my voice? Is it okay?
Sounds fine. It's a little gravelly, like you've been maybe rolling some marbles around in there. But other than that, sounds
It's
fine.
fine. Hey, how about
You say marbles or Marlboros?
Winston's. How
Or,
about Winston's, man? More
okay.
Winston's. Yeah,
how about how about my guy? Like, did you know he was calming everybody down when he said what he said coming back when he's like, everybody just needs to kind of calm down and dial in. Like, could you imagine what was going on with the broadcast team trying to figure out if Dylan was coming back in the game or he wasn't coming back in the game? It was
I listen. I have the headphones there. Like it's probably about a 50-second difference at this point listening online. But
Yeah.
I check back in a lot of times after plays where I figure you guys are getting deep into a conversation on something. And I of course want to hear what Jessica has to say. I can watch down there what he's doing, but she's talking about him going back and forth to the tent. So I always on my computer I have the game going, the Nebraska game going, and so I can go back and watch the replays when I want to. And that second replay, I could see where that ankle turned over. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I consider myself kind of a medical professional. At least I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night, and I watched it, and I thought, oh man, that's a nasty sprain. I don't think he's going to play on that because one. The pain I didn't think was going to be good enough, and it just looked really nasty. So I never thought he was going to come back in. And I think once you put TJ in there, and he had that first run where unfortunately at the end he fumbles going out of bounds. But once you put him in there, I think you leave him in there because you need that mobility. And if Dylan can't move, especially when you got backup right tackles and left tackles in there, you're going to be in trouble.
So were you having flashbacks of all my meltdowns over the years from when guys jump on other guys' backs to tackle? Because I did a very good. I know you're laughing.
Yeah.
It's like the number one. It's like a number two trigger for me. Are you proud that I didn't bring it up during the actual broadcast?
Look, that is one of the weirder plays. If you break the whole thing down, it's ultimate max protection, right? First of all, it's max protection. Pritchard gets just beat like a dog off the edge.
By you, yeah.
He dives then and he grabs the left ankle of the defender. So he's trying to get back up. Well, Emmett tries to help. Emmett actually pushes the defender into Raiola, who is then in contact. And then, he does the old hip drop tackle or whatever you want to call it. And it's horrible. There's no reason to do it. You're doing it either because you've lost control of your faculties or you're trying to hurt somebody. And that's how I think about it. Whenever somebody does that, especially when it's stopped, like the ball's out, he's stopped. And then when you say, I'm going to pull this guy down here, you either have lost your mind in a way or you're trying to hurt him. And so I'm not accusing the guy of doing anything wrong, but there's no place in the game for that tackle. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to accuse a guy of intentionally trying to hurt somebody. I am going to accuse him of doing something intentionally dirty, right? Like I do think there's a difference between like, hey, I may not be trying to break this guy's leg. I am doing something dirty and I know it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's I think where my real problem is. And you're right, there was a lot of congestion, there was a lot of bodies around there. It was also 100% unnecessary for that guy to do what he did. Like,
yeah, completely. And Dylan got a little unlucky because sometimes in a situation, as you guys seen it, the foot will slip out, right? You get to pull back,
or you'll go directly to your knees.
Yeah, his got planted, it got stuck there, kind of like that. What happened last night? Oh my God! To Jaden Daniels, where his arm just got pinned. It didn't slide out like it normally slides out, and you dislocate your elbow or whatever. But yeah, when I first time I saw the replay, I thought, oh man, this is bad. I did not think it was a fibular break. There was no way I thought that's what it was. I just thought it was a bad high ankle sprain. But he'll be back next year. Probably a good 3 months of rehab, stem, making sure that he deals with the pain. But he'll be back fine.
Dude, I don't know what stem's gonna do for a break, but
well, it really helps once the break is healed. Once the break is healed, But it's I'm telling you, man, I've been injured a lot. Just like you, Damon. I got a fake knee here, and I just know that those people, those trainers. I go to Makovica personally, and every time I've had a problem, they've fixed it. And I know the trainers down at Nebraska, they had some people who were like, kind of. Once they found out it was a break, they're like, well, that was irresponsible to let him walk around on it and everything. And I'm like, look, man, technically it's a non-weight bearing bone. He's not making it worse by going out there. He might've made it worse, but by walking around, I thought that the people kind of complaining about the training staff and how they handled it, I think that was bad. They treated it. he wanted to go back out, got wrapped up. He couldn't go.
I did like the fact that because we can hear some of it sometimes when he's close to a mic or yes, when there was real consternation. And I think Dylan was pushing. And I think Coach Rhule was like, you're a sitting duck.
Yeah.
I think Dylan was pushing, and it was like, no, you can't get out of the way. So, like when he's having the press conference, I don't have to tell you, I'm a little sensitive to that with injuries and the players. So I'm like, sometimes you just have to protect people from themselves. And I was getting ready to be upset that people were gonna be accuse Dylan of anything other than not really being hurt. He wanted to play. His coach didn't let him.
You don't have to protect people from themselves. You got to protect football players from themselves. Football players will do stupid things. We all know. I'll never forget Corey Detmer going out playing on a torn ACL and then tearing the other one. They'll go out. They'll do stupid things. They want to play. And I thought Dylan, I'm not. Look, so here's me being who I am a little bit. I also don't think Dylan wants the other guy to go out there and show what he can do. I'm just saying. No offense to anybody, but you don't want that.
Until you know you can absolutely not play, I agree with you. That's how 99% of players are.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it too.
Like if there's an ounce of you that can play, it's like, just hold this down so I get back. But that's it.
Why do you think I don't take any days off, DB?
Take your days off. You get replaced, man. Wally pipped you. You don't want to get Wally pipped.
I was trying to Wally pip people for a decade. Like I'm trying to I'm not trying to take any days off.
Yeah, keep showing up. And it's your job, but once you're not there, they're gonna have to find somebody else to do the job. But I'm not surprised he tried to go back in because he wanted to win. I'm not surprised he wanted to go back in. National televised game like that, and the atmosphere. That's the one thing I want to make sure I say that while I'm here is that was incredible. The atmosphere was it's the second best atmosphere I've had at and I'm going to say a Nebraska pseudo game, because when Nebraska was at Colorado that first time I was there and Nebraska fans were doing Husker Power and they drowned out the running of the Bison, that's still, my hair was standing up my arm. That's still one of the best moments next to the College World Series when they were doing the same thing. But the beginning of that game and when they chose to take the ball, and I don't remember the last time an offense chose to take the ball against Nebraska that didn't involve wind, but chose to take the ball and Nebraska got the first stop. I'm like, oh, they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
They're going to win this game. And then when they drove down and had that drive where they looked as efficient, and I talked all week. Like we keep saying that they held USC under this amount from their average. They held them 8 points under their road average. This is not the same team home and road. Them and Washington are about the biggest gaps between home and road splits. So I thought once Nebraska got the lead, knowing the way USC plays on the road, knowing the way they struggle across the board, knowing they don't like to return kickoffs and punts. They don't want to. They want to take it wherever they get it. So that takes away another explosive element. Despite the fact that we had Mekhi Lemon on our preseason watch list. They don't want to return kicks. So I thought all of those reasons, once Nebraska got the early lead and got 2 stops in a row, do you know that USC had only 9 3-and-outs the whole season?
I do.
Until those backups. I mean, you were in a position, and that's why I don't really love the 3rd down and long quarterback, the RPO wherever he runs. I don't like that. I mean, I think you get a first down there, I think the game might be over. I think the game might.
You're talking about the second offensive possession?
The second offense.
That's the one that's still sticking in his craw.
Yeah. So you had back-to-back possessions where you end up with 3rd and long. One, you ran Dylan for 5 or 6, and the second one was Emmett.
EJ's 14-yard run. You take the shot play. Then Lindemeyer has that one on his hip that he has to corral off the arc. Is that the one you're talking about where you wanted EJ to touch it?
I wanted something to be done that they're trying to get the first down other than having a quarterback who always seems like he's going down as he runs. You ever notice his forward lean is like, I'm getting to the ground, which is good because you want him to be safe, but he's always kind of going down. He's not going to run for that. And so I would have liked to see him trying to get that. And then the next drive, it's again 3rd and long, and that's the one where they give it to Emmett. And Emmett might break it. I never know. But sometimes when you run it there, then you're saying maybe we're going to go for it on 4th down. I thought they needed to steal 1 or 2 possessions during the game, and I thought it would happen by a fake punt where he would roll out and run, or I thought they were going to run some sort of thing in special teams to kind of get a trick thing. They never got that. They never stole that possession. And so I think that's nothing.
There's a handful, and because I want to get to the game management thing here.
Yeah, sure.
For sure. But so a couple times we had a chance to pin SC deep while the crowd was still buzzing. Because I think one of the things that's getting lost in this complimentary thing is, are we getting our what's going on with Holgerson or the defense this, and we love Coach Eck, and it's a 3-pronged deal. But when it's a pick-me-up sport, so I'll tell you what a guy like Coach Eckler is going to say is we got to stop. We got it back to our offense. We punted. We should pin them deep. Our defense got us another stop, but they weren't really able to flip the field with anything deep, right? You had the punt that went out at the 27, and then another one like
two inside the 20.
Yeah,
right?
so
two inside the 20, but none inside the 10.
You had some chances there. When you look at the complementary portions of the game, all 3 phases, when you do have a backup quarterback in, which would you pick to be the most effective if you're going to get a backup quarterback a dub? Which one of those 3 phases do you think? You may want to just pick offensive line. Which one? What's the fourth? Go ahead.
Fourth phase.
What is it?
Fourth phase is coaching.
Okay.
The fourth phase is making the backup quarterbacks win because of 2 things. 1, scheme. 2, everybody else picks up around them, right? Everybody gets a little bit better. So when those are happening and the scheme is part of it, you have to, as a coaching staff, 1, maintain your composure on the sideline. 2, call the plays that fit best for the guy that you have out there. And then 3, you got to make sure that everybody else picks up and makes plays. I did not think that the coaching staff handled it as well as they could have once he came in the game. Look, they called some good plays. That middle screen should have been a touchdown when he fumbled the snap. It should have been a touchdown. You fake the look over to Emmett. It draws the safety over there. You got 3 linemen in front of Barney. He probably runs in for a touchdown. He's nervous. He drops the ball. That's fine. But I thought
he only had the 2 incompletions and ran for 5 per. Like what do you?
Yeah. Well, two things I thought. Right.
Okay.
So they ran that screen play, the one that lost I think 5 or 7 yards. They ran that play. I don't think with a guy who hasn't had enough first-time rips, you run that play. That's a pick 6. That when you're drawing up and you're calling it off the plane, you're going, what's the bad thing that can happen on this play? Because that's how I think it. Maybe that's negative, but that's a pick 6. That throw. I don't like throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage. I also don't like throwing the ball linear to tight ends. I hate that. Why has that been happening for the last 6 or 7 years? Stop doing that. They threw 1 to Lindenmeyer and 1 to Harburg. Stop doing that. Get the ball at least over the line of scrimmage, or if it's third down, at least to the line to gain. Too many times they don't call plays to do those things. I was critical of all those things. I thought that TJ did the best he could do. I thought the throw that he made to Hunter down that sideline was a great throw and a great defensive play. But I thought that they didn't do a great job of calling the game for him.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Of the 3 calls that we couldn't believe, one of them was SC's flea flicker, which was
what a throw. Dime.
The play to Marshall that 16 caught, or the play that Hunter didn't make. You get one of those back, or one that you think you should made that it was like. How do you look at those 3 plays? Because in games like this, you and I and Ravi will have these conversations and we'll say, oh, Latif wasn't prepared, or oh, the play calling, or oh, game management. But sometimes you just got to make plays. All 3 of those were plays where you're like, if they would have gone the other way.
Yeah, it's the Hunter play. The Hunter play. If Hunter comes down with that ball and that 50-50 ball, and that's why he's here. That's why he and Danke are both here to catch 50-50 balls, because they couldn't do it last year. He makes that catch. I think Nebraska wins the game. And that's it. I think they win. It's a second down play. He makes that catch. It's at the 21?
Yeah, roughly.
Right? I mean,
at the 25, I know.
I think they win the game right there. The play I talked about before is that middle screen. I mean, I bet you that's something they've been thinking about running on against a zero blitz probably for a couple of weeks, and they got it, and it didn't happen. That had to be crushing for the 3 seconds that Holgerson thinks about the play that just happened before he's moved on. I think that must have been crushing.
See, I don't think Maeva had any business throwing the fade. He went to the 2x2. He checked it when he threw it over. Oh, when he threw it on Marshall. That's not a ball I would recommend.
But DB, that's why I think
and you
he's going to be really good. You have to throw it. See, that's the great thing about him. When you go back and I watched almost every snap that he has had this season, especially the road games. And he gives those guys opportunities that a lot of times Dylan will not. And I know maybe it gets picked, right? Maybe it does. Maybe it gets knocked away. Maybe it's interference, or maybe your wide receiver makes a play. The throw he made against Illinois to Makai Lemon in the end zone, you shouldn't throw that ball. I don't care, but you got
that ball.
Listen, man. Honestly, you don't think he thinks that his wide receiver is going to beat that safety, or he's going to make the play over that safety? He's got confidence. He goes, my guy is not like some walk-on guy. I got wide receivers who are wanting to go play in the league. I'm gonna throw the ball to them, and I'm gonna let them go make the play. There was a yard and a half, right, that he had to throw that ball.
At what point was
he made
open?
The throw? Well,
he was
open
me, bro. For about half a second.
You're always open. If you're between the ball and the defender, you're open. That's the way I've always felt. You got to make those throws, man. Those are the reason why. Dylan
the ball
struggles so much is because he does not do that
Marshall
enough.
Has got to be kicking it.
Well, that ball was underthrown.
It was an underthrown ball. Throw.
It's an underthrown ball, right? But sometimes the underthrown balls, you get some of the biggest plays.
It's tough.
So Dylan had an underthrow to Hunter. One of I don't know what's going on with his
Nebraska sidelines.
With it just a little past it, yeah. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's reverting back to being a baseball player, but he's kicking his back leg up when he throws the ball down the field. Like, I don't know why he does that. And so you're now taking away your balance, and he can't get the ball to drop. Well, on that one, he threw it so short that Hunter couldn't even come back and get it. So those are plays that when he comes back next year, those are the plays you have to make. So now you're talking 3 weeks in a row where now he is, I believe, 3 of 16 on throws over 15 or more yards. That's inexcusable. That can't happen. He's got to make those throws. And so I hope going forward that when they talk to TJ, they're like, hey, TJ, sometimes because Dane Key can play and Hunter can play and Quinn Clark can play because Lyndon Meyer's huge, sometimes you got to throw the ball in that tight window. Throw it, let them make the play. I stay with that, man. We all watch dozens of games every weekend, and the quarterbacks that succeed are the quarterbacks that are willing to take that chance.
I didn't mind the explanation after the game because it's real time and it's raw with his feelings on what he wanted the outcome to be with the field goal attempt. If the field goal doesn't hit the uprights, right? Are you still worried about the optics or the mechanics?
Well, I was going to use the word operation. So I'm not as concerned about whether or not you should have kicked the field goal or gone for it or punted or whatever. Mine is the operation of way they handle it. So first of all,
is this in addition
let me first leave that out of there because I think he was a lot of times he is so pumped up after speaking to his team that sometimes he says stuff that I don't think necessarily that he has to come back and correct on Monday. We've seen him do that before. So let me just say this. First of all, that third down play, that's a play where if TJ has a bunch of reps and he's been playing a lot, he makes that screen throw to Emmett easily, and Emmett probably gets 15 yards on that play. But he makes a bad throw. Emmett's got to jump up. It brings Corcoran over. He can't make the block. It's a 1-yard gain. They got to go to fourth down. So as soon as that happened, they cut over to the sideline and Coach Rhule. And you see him standing up there. He's talking to somebody or whatever. They get started. They send the guys out. Well, then they send 48 out late. So now you're already a little late. You've lined up. You line up in that Maryland eye or whatever, and you get under center at 10 seconds. And you call the timeout at 5. If you're honestly saying that you wanted to get them to jump, you don't call that timeout at 5 seconds. You have a couple more faux snaps calls or whatever.
No, actually, that's not true.
It's 5 seconds.
Actually,
it's 5. It goes from 6 to 5 round the timeout. Why wouldn't you take it down to a second and then call a timeout?
I respect the thought.
Okay.
Let me give you the counter.
Okay.
This happened to us in a game at Memorial Stadium when it mattered. Okay. So when you want to do that and you want to see if they are going to call timeout, there's this part of you that wants to make sure, now, does everybody know we're not snapping this thing?
You know the best way to do that, DB, is
you know what I mean?
The best way to do that is to come
out
in a play that you normally run.
Hear my heart, babe. Hear my heart.
Okay.
I'm not telling you it was well executed.
No, it wasn't.
What I'm telling you is why I think I'm giving you a reason for why I think it happened. It's an explanation. It's not an excuse. I don't think he thought they had a good enough command of whether they were really snapping it or not. And the only reason I bring this up to you to think about, because 6-7 years ago, you and I had this conversation, and we had it multiple years in a row on how trusting your quarterback changes the optics of whether you're a good game manager or not, right? Andy Reid gets the benefit of the doubt now after being heavily criticized for a long time with Mahomes, right? Zach Taylor with Burrow is famous. So I only say that in does the quarterback situation in terms of that situational practice, does that creep into your thought process at all?
Only because I've seen him, I'm talking about Matt Rhule, do the same thing at multiple places where he's coached with multiple quarterbacks.
That's fair.
I've watched him struggle. And listen, and I said this yesterday, and everybody that's a head coach has got a weakness or a blind spot. Everybody does. Nick Saban, for years, they couldn't kick field goals. Explain to me how one of the best teams in the country winning multiple championships can't kick field goals. They just couldn't.
You know what he said his Achilles, what he was too emotional.
Well, back when he was at LSU, that was actually a thing that was put in Sports Illustrated because he admitted to that back then of how he would jump too much on his coaches and react too much on the sideline. But what I'm saying is that when you look at what Matt Rhule's weakness is, and I think you can go back to the Minnesota game of his first game he coached here at Nebraska. You can go back to when he was at Carolina. The weakness is it seems like at times in those situations, and I don't ever want to use the word panic, but he doesn't handle them well. I don't think he does. And the head coach has to be in the most control. The head coach has to have that aura of being in control, and he's got to make great decisions on what he really only does 3 things, right? When you had to take over to be head coach, when your head coach was in the hospital, you got to worry about, do I go, no go on 4th down? When do I call timeouts? And if I need to pull somebody out of the game because they're not playing very well, you know, and you get that from your assistant coaches. So those 2 things, those 2 timeouts and 4th downs, I don't think that's his wheelhouse. And I've said it over and over. Kurt Ferentz brought somebody in from the outside to help him with it. Coach Ferentz is the best coach in the Big Ten in 3.5 point or less games. Look at his numbers. There's a reason why he got better in close games is because he got somebody to help him. I think Matt Rhule needs somebody to help him on those decisions. If he doesn't already have it.
That's Michael Zvier, Executive Director of the Jet Foundation. Michael, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, take it easy, man.